Well, good day, Bucyrus. Hey, this is the spring edition of the Mayor's Roundtable, and we thank you for viewing. A couple special guests. First of all, I'm Mayor Jeff Reeser, in case you don't know. Special guests we have, a familiar face right next to me, has been on many of the Mayor's Roundtables, Mr. Jeff Wagner. He's our Safety Service Director and does so much for the city. And sitting next to him is Mr. Jeff Dunn. Jeff Dunn's first time on here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he's a rookie. So Mr. Jeff Dunn is the street superintendent. And these two guys make my job a lot easier. They keep the city running smooth. And I'm going to start with Jeff Dunn here first. And the reason we're going to do this, we're doing this, is to kind of explain about our streets levy renewal that's coming up on the ballot in May, in the May primary, and what it's all about and what we use the money for. So, Mr. Dunn, why don't you let us know what the streets department do for the city of Bucyrus, some of the jobs?
Yeah, in the street department, we actually take care of the paving of the streets, patching of the streets, from the alleyways to leaf pickup, snow removal, salting of the streets, a little bit of everything else. I mean, you can think of picking up limbs, and they used 0.5% money to help purchase equipment.
Yeah. So the money,
and the personnel.
And the personnel,
yeah,
yes.
of course, and the people that
Yes.
do it too. So we would be in tough shape without a streets department, because those are the things that keep your city working. Recent windstorm that we had a lot of leaves, a lot of limbs to pick up, and then we got that done. And just very simple, basic stuff: mowing lawns that need mowing, that are vacant lots. That's another thing they do. But they go to work at what time of the day?
It's 7 to 3:30.
So they're out there early, and if you ever need any of those jobs done, or you see something out there, please call, and we turn it over to Mr. Dunn. Jeff, how long have you been working for the city?
23 years.
23 years, wow. How many more you got to go? About 23 more?
23 more. That's what I'm being told.
Well, we have a lot of fun here at City Hall too, so as you can see. But let you know about the streets renewal. It's a renewal. It has to come up by law every 6 years to be voted on. Last time it was voted on was 6 years ago. And the city voters graciously approved it by a 60-40 margin. It brings in 0.5% income tax, which equals about $1.5 million. Now, Mr. Hess, if you would pan over to here, I'm going to write that down over on the board and let you know how important that is. So follow me if you would. You got me there? Okay, so our city income tax is 2%, okay? Of the streets part of it, it's 0.5%. Now this brings in right here 2%, roughly $6 million a year. All right, and so you divide that by 4, it brings in about $1,500,000. So if that doesn't get renewed, our revenue for that department is reduced by 25%. So try to imagine running your own household budget or business budget with a 25% reduction. It would be very, very difficult for the city to do that. Now, what funds out of this department goes into our general fund, of which I say this is committed, this 0.5%, and then we have another 0.5% committed to safety forces. And so what has to happen then, out of that $4.5 million that would be left, if we don't renew, we have to fund all of our departments. So we have to fund streets, would have to fund police, POL, and then we'd have to fund fire, plus our general government, law office, auditor's office, everything that has to come out of there, so government. So we have to spread that and make that pie completely different. So it would be very difficult. So just to let you know, financially, it's a very, very important part of the city, and I wanted to get those numbers out for you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about, follow me back here. Again, if you see behind me, it is a renewal, so it's what we've been paying for. This has been going on, what, over 20 years, right, Jeff?
Yes.
25 years. 25 years the voters have approved it every time. We don't take it for granted. The money is not wasted. Mr. Wagner is here. He's going to talk about what the majority of the funds go for, and that would be repairing streets. I was in contact with ODOT not too long ago. The cost of fixing a mile of city streets, it's already been paved, so we call that like a mill and pave, so they go down about an inch and a half or so,
Yes.
and then repave it. That costs roughly about $300,000 for a mile. Now, can any of you out there tell me how many miles of paved streets there are in the city of Bucyrus? We'll wait for a while. I'll give you. Do you know?
I do believe, I think.
I think
it's
Mr.
about
Wagner knows.
90 miles or so.
How'd you know that?
Oh, I don't know.
That's your job to know that, right? 90 miles of streets. So multiply 90 times about 300,000, and you're in the tens of millions of dollars of what it takes. Now, I've noticed this year there's a lot of streets have deteriorated fairly quickly. Why is that, you guys?
Freeze and thawing, salt usage.
Yeah.
Mainly.
That deteriorates. You know how many tons of salt we put down this last winter? Do you remember?
It was about 800.
Yeah,
I
about
believe.
800 tons.
800
I believe
tons
it
of
was.
salt. Well, Mother Nature, the last couple winters, has played some dirty tricks on us. We've had a lot of freezing, thawing, snow and ice, and you have to make a decision about safety on the roads. Obviously, we want the roads to be safe, and that's what we have to do. We have to keep business going. Can you imagine a city without keeping their streets in good condition? Business would come to a crawl. Everybody would be home. So, but the downside of that is that it does deteriorate your streets. Now, we have a lot of work to do on our streets. What are we doing this year on mill and pave, Jeff?
Well, we have our share of Route 4 North with the ODOT. I think our share is roughly around 200,000. And then we also have Route 4 South, which will be another roughly 200,000. So just out of that $1.5 million that we generate every year, you're taking 400,000 right away. And then we've got a list of streets for this year that we're right around the $600,000 range. So we're putting $1 million right back into the streets. And as the mayor said, we got a lot of streets as spring is here now. We've seen a lot of streets that we could have easily added to the list. And if this fund would go away, it would be detrimental. We talked a little bit about snow plowing. And as much as, we don't have people that just snow plow. These guys are our street workers. They come from our water distribution. They come from solid waste. And, when those people plow, that money gets billed to the street department. So if we eliminate part of the street fund, we could be down to 5 or 6 people plowing snow. And right now, if we have a full crew out, we got like 14.
Yes.
And we can get the whole city done in a rather, depending on the amount of snow, 6 to 8 hours. And
Correct.
so, this would create a little bit of a real challenge for Jeff Dunn and his crew
For all of us.
to get that done. And the other thing I want to add about the street fund, as you can see, we have purchased some new equipment here in the last, even since I've been here in the last 6-7 years. But most of the equipment we replaced has been 20 years plus. So we get our life out, and we have a great mechanic, and we take care of our vehicles as well as we can, and we run them basically till they're in the ground, and that's no lie. I mean,
we make sure they make sure they last. The voters get their taxpayers get their money's worth. Well, let me go back to January. About the middle of January, you remember that 15-inch snowfall that we had, and they always seem to come on the weekends. And then you called the crew out Saturday afternoon, I think.
It was a Saturday afternoon and came back Sunday.
It just kept snowing,
Yeah.
kept snowing. Well, they were out Saturday late, came back to their home, slept what, 4 or 5 hours,
About
maybe?
4 hours.
Got 4 hours of sleep and got back there, and they do that because they care about the city. And I can tell you, our streets look great. How do you get rid of 15 inches of snow? And it's not easy. It was pretty well gone in 2 or 3 days. That same week, I was in a couple other Ohio towns, and I was shocked how much snow was sitting around, and I was driving on the street in snow. places that didn't even get nearly as much. So our guys, we have a great staff that do that, and we just need to keep everybody working. Ask you a question. How do we go about choosing the streets that are on the mill and pave list?
Well, definitely you look at the condition, and you look at the usage of the street and where it's at, how much traffic does it get, and we try to use that philosophy to determine which streets we're gonna do. And we also look at what storm projects or sewer projects we're
Correct.
doing, that we don't wanna do those after the fact of milling and paving. And sometimes we're at ODOT's mercy. Sometimes we'll do a street and then next year, they might come through and want to do something else, and it's kind of hard to, even though they try to plan way out, sometimes we've ran into that where they've done a project and we're coming right behind it with a sewer project that it can't be helped. The one year we had, the railroad crossing was closed, we were doing a water line replacement, and I think we were doing some street work or whatever, and we had the whole south end all tore up, but, the contractors were saving us 10, 15, 20% on the job. We apologize for any inconvenience, but, we got to spend that money wisely.
Let me ask you a question about North Sandusky project. That's part of a small cities grant that we were fortunate to get. What is the city's share of that? What percent is that?
I do believe that is 20%, if I remember right.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So 80% of that on the state route is going to be borne by the state of Ohio, and we only have to come up with 20. And it's a rough area up there. We know, we've been trying to get it to last until, they're gonna start on that sometime after July, August, I guess, in that?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess they're allowed to go out. I think it's out to bid now.
Yeah.
But they won't start, their fiscal year starts in July.
It's gonna be a little bit rough, so we ask your patience. I know Marion Road has gotten rough all of a sudden. Lane Street is gonna be done this year. We're doing some on Whetstone also. Whetstone gets a lot of traffic.
Yes.
We're doing some of that, some smaller streets too. Talk about Arrowhead Drive, the concrete a little bit. What made us do that?
Jeff, do you remember how many years that's been in there?
It's been concrete for the 23 years I've been here.
Yeah, so we're doing that through Ohio Public Works Commission. It's a grant. We get a grant for our share, usually out of like a county grant, and we all split it between Crestline County and the townships in New Washington. And our share typically out of that's around $185,000. So we took that money this year to do half of Arrowhead, and it's going to be about a $400,000 project.
Yes.
I
It's a
do
large
believe.
project. Concrete is,
And that's only halfway. So
Yeah, the concrete's very expensive. It lasts longer than asphalt, but it's extremely expensive. We know we have some other concrete areas in town that's gonna be addressed here in the upcoming years if the levy gets renewed. I was gonna ask about parking lots, like city parking lots downtown. Why don't those get fixed as part of the mill and pave program?
that's not part of the street levy.
It's not part of it, right? We can't do that. It has to be a named street or alley. Am I right there?
That is correct.
That's correct. So the city parking lots downtown, in order to do those, that money has to come out of the general fund, funds we use for police, fire, and general government. So and parks too, so there's only so much money out of that, and we're doing the best we can on those things. So I know we have some issues downtown with some of the parking lots that we're trying to patch and keep those in good condition too. So, but we'll be addressing those as funds come in. 90 miles of street, you see it about that. The state, if you see the graphic behind us, Jeff talked a little bit about what it does, what the street department do. This is what we're going to spend. And Jeff have talked to. There's 3 Jeffs here, by the way. Did you notice that? 3 Jeffs. There ought to be a prize for that, or Bell should go off here. Anyway, so you can laugh a little bit. Come on, let's go. $1 million on Plymouth Street was a huge project last year. I know you met with ODOT coming back in. What's going on with Plymouth Street that you met with them last? Can you talk a little bit about that? What we should expect to happen there this year?
I'm going to let Jeff. I stepped in and out of the meeting for
Okay.
a couple of minutes. So.
Well, the meeting last week was to cover the punch list, basically the things that need to be finished, changed, and and that's mainly the items that you see above ground. That's,
Cosmetic.
yeah, that's
Gra-
basically what
grasses,
it is.
things like that.
Right. Not big list,
Yeah,
just little odds and ends stuff they just gotta finish up.
yeah. Are they gonna reseed the grass this year, you
Yes,
think? Okay,
that's
so
supposed to be, yes.
they're gonna be reseeding the grass, so I know some of my neighbors have asked me about that. I live on Plymouth Street, so that's gonna be done. Then we'll come back in, this isn't part of the streets levy at all, but we're gonna come in and, talk about doing some trees there. We took 30-some trees out in there a few years ago, so there's a lot of wires up there, and there's gas lines, so we have to be very careful what we plant. So we're gonna make Plymouth Street look real good, so. Like I said, since we spent, last levy, we spent over $8 million on streets. And our streets, even though there's some that need work, they are the envy of cities around us, and that's thanks to you voters, so. Go ahead, what do you want to say?
Well, I was just gonna bring up about Plymouth Street.
Yeah?
We have had some comments about a few things, the way it was done up there.
Yeah.
One item was about the poles being in the
Yeah.
sidewalk, and, you know, part of that is regulations from ODOT.
Mm-hmm.
Another part is how wide some of the sidewalks are, and part of that was the space that was gonna be left for a little bit of, tree lawn that maybe would have been a foot wide or 2 foot wide, would have served no purpose. So it was concreted, so, yeah, you can go through every town,
Yeah.
city, village, you're gonna see some poles in sidewalks.
Mhm.
You know, we got, all our lights downtown are all in sidewalks. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not the perfect world,
Yeah.
but when you gotta follow new regulations, you know, and ODOT's paying for the project, you gotta fall within their rules.
So what the main thing was, before we did the remodeling, ODOT poles were close to the street. Well, their regulations changed, and they moved the poles 2 feet back for safety reasons. So what it did is put it in, more of the sidewalk area, and if you start Plymouth Street towards Sandusky, everything's very close. As you fan out, then it gets a little wider. It was a very difficult engineering thing to do, and I think it came out really good. I was in several towns recently, in these older neighborhoods, the telephone poles are they're not in the middle of the sidewalk. They are right at the edge of the sidewalk, like some of ours, which there's still plenty of room to get through. We made our sidewalks bigger too. That was another thing. We wanted to make sure that, especially on Plymouth Street, there's a lot of traffic that goes, stroller traffic and people walking all the time. So that was just one of those things. So, and if you have any issues like that, if you're not sure, call us. We'll give you the straight scoop on it. Now behind me, I want to talk before we finish here. We have this map that'll be on our website. This is the legend of the streets that we've worked on by year. So I hope that comes through pretty good, but you'll check our website. We'll have it all the way from 2011 up to 2020, and they're color coded. You can see the streets that we've worked on, and you can see the streets that are in the planning process too. So there's a lot done there. It's a lot. You look, we've done South Sandusky, we've done Hopley, we're going to be doing North, we're doing Plymouth Street. There's been a lot of accomplishment, again, thanks to you, the voters. So, and we just make sure we keep that up. So let me see what else we got on here before we call it a day. Oh, like I said earlier, 25% of the total income tax revenue for 90 miles of the city. Another thing too, it makes us more attractive to residents. If you go have a business that comes in here looking for that's one of the first things they look at. How are the streets maintained? Are they clean? Are they free of debris? Are there potholes? I mean, are they maintained? And it's just like your parks. It's just as important as parks. We've got a lot to be proud of there. And then Jeff talked about the leaf pickup and all those types of things. And then we would not be able to do any of the future projects from the state to come up with our 20%. So that's very important. So we appreciate your past support. This has been a very generous community, not only on the streets, but in the form of the Safety Forces Levy. One of the things our administration does is make sure that your tax dollars are not wasted. And we have got a good management and good employees in place, and they work hard. They give you 100%. They care about this community. Gentlemen, is there anything you want to add before we call it a day?
No, I don't think I have anything else to add. I think we're pretty well covered.
All right, well, we ask for your renewal, your positive vote there, and we promise that we will continue the tradition that started back in the 1990s. People that said we want our streets to look good, and we want Bucyrus to look good. We promise to keep that tradition with your help. So we'll see you next month with a new edition of the Mayor's Roundtable.